Hey there, Scoobies. Not exactly a Halloween episode, but nevertheless, a talk about nightmares seems apt to kick off the start of October. Nightmares is somewhat of a frustrating episode for me. There are some good ideas in there if it wasn't for the uneasy execution, and at times absolute cheese, but we'll get there. The episode opens with Buffy going to face the Master. It's evident from the cold open that it's a dream, or a nightmare. Joyce wakes Buffy for school and mentions that her father has confirmed they're on for the weekend.
I spoke with your father. He's coming, right?
You're on for this weekend.
Good.
This is the second of Buffy's fears in as many minutes, that her father abandoned her. At school, she's talking to Willow about the divorce, and Willow gives some insight into the potentially oppressive nature of her parents' relationship.
My parents don't even bicker. Sometimes they glare.
In class, they are discussing active listening as the subject when Buffy spies a young boy, before Wendell is attacked by a host of tarantulas. Post-credits, the Master is telling the annoying one about fear. This leads me to one of my first issues with the episode. In the scene, the Master tells the viewer exactly what's going on, removing a large part of the mystery. I would have much preferred the events played out, with us finding out along with the Scoobies. Above, Joyce is dropping Buffy at school, where Buffy worries again about whether her father will show up. Running into Willow and Xander, we find out that Willow is arachnophobic.
Spiders, okay? Their furry bodies and their sticky webs, and what do they need all those legs for anyway?
Yeah, like bunnies.
What do they need such good eyesight for anyway?
Xander makes a reference to Nazis.
Just now, a bunch of Nazis crawled all over my face.
Watch this space later. They enter the library, where Giles seems to be a little lost. The crew find Wendell to find out more about his nightmare, when Buffy runs into another one of hers. The piano piece, while Buffy is taking the test, nicely represents the situation. The melody is simple, repeating, like a clock timer at the end of each section. 2 notes are played slightly off key or in a minor, representing Buffy's growing anxiety and that something is off. The bell ringing before she can finish is an obvious part of this particular fear trope, but I have taken it to mean something more. It's the fear that we all have that there isn't enough time, and that we won't complete everything we need to do before we die. In an episode that's named Nightmares, this seems to me at least to be the part that holds true for us all. One of the students goes to the basement for a quick cig and is attacked by the monster of the week. I never really got this element of the monster. It's the kid's fear, not hers, so it would make more sense for him to be focused on. Buffy and Giles head to the hospital to talk to the girl that was attacked, and they get their first clue.
Lucky 19.
Back at the school, things continue to get weirder. Xander's fear of coming to school without clothes and Giles' fear of not being able to read manifest. Buffy notices the number 19 shirt Billy is wearing when her dad shows up. I wonder where this is going.
There's something I've needed to tell you about your mother and why we split up. It was you.
Me?
Having you. Raising you, seeing you every day. I mean, do you have any idea what that's like?
Although we fear all kinds of things and for all kinds of reasons, this seems to me to be one of the more mature fears a child can have. Unfortunately, more now than ever, kids are growing up in single-parent homes. This doesn't take away from the job the parents are doing or how they are raising the kids, but the fear that they might be the reason for their parents' breakup, that somehow they're responsible, is very real and very potent. I bring this up because Buffy had this fear at the start of the episode, before manifesting itself here. Something her father says here also sticks out to me.
You're sullen and rude, and you're not nearly as bright as I thought you were going to be.
It's interesting because this is her fear that her father doesn't think that she's smart, or that she has self-doubt. She thinks that she isn't that bright, despite regularly showing a level of common sense that, well, isn't all that common. Willow realises that it's people's nightmares coming to life, and Giles links it to Billy. Buffy follows Billy into the gym and comes face to face with the dumbest monsters to date. He plays baseball, see, and so there's the monster, he has an arm for a bat. See, it's a bat. As the Scoobies race to find Buffy, they are split up in a classic horror trope.
Faster, but not really safer.
Thank you, Willow. We see Cordy's nightmare. Girl's got priorities, I'll give her that. Willow and Xander enter their nightmare scenarios. Notice the walls?
Just now, a bunch of Nazis crawled all over my face.
Xander is lured by chocolate. This is a reference to chocolate being considered comfort food, which usually pertains to matters of the heart. Forecasted in the previous episode, we finally see Willow's nightmare.
My turn.
This makes perfect sense for Willow's persona. She tends to be a wallflower by nature and often shies away from the limelight. But this too represents a spiritual fear for some. Having all eyes on you can have you feeling naked. As noted on IMDb, the aria that is sung to her can be read in English as "Child, from whose eyes the witchery is shining." This could be another note of foreshadowing in the early series. Meanwhile, Xander has been lured into a trap.
I haven't had one of these since my 6th birthday.
Creepy. Buffy, after escaping the ugly man, meets another of her fears. Interestingly, as this is a nightmare manifested, it's not the real master. Or is it?
This is a dream.
A dream is a wish your heart makes. This is real life.
As an interesting anecdote, being buried alive is one of Sarah Michelle Gellar's fears, and so makes the scene that much more harrowing. I'm not the first to make this observation, but Xander, as Buffy's heart, is the first to face his fear and defeat it.
You were a lousy clown. Your balloon animals were pathetic. Everyone can make a giraffe.
What makes Giles' nightmare more potent is that where the heart and spirits are irrational fears, his is logical. In every generation there is a slayer, and in every generation she eventually loses for the next to be called. The crew make it to the hospital, where Buffy faces off against the monster and forces Billy to face his fear. Now all over, we get for me what is probably one of the worst parts of the episode.
There's 8 other players on the team. You know that. Nice going.
And I have made this joke before, but I will make it again.
And he would have, too, if it weren't for the dark elder forces conspiring in the inky black of time most foul. Oh, and you meddling kids.
In my Xander analysis, I talk about how he may have been a victim of abuse. This scene for me is the first hint of that abuse.
Can't believe a Kitty League coach would do something like that.
Well, you obviously haven't played Kitty League. I'm surprised it was one of the parents.
Xander's reference to the parents indicates an understanding of that kind of pressure. The takeaway from nightmares is that as responsible adults, we often have to face and push through our fears in order to progress and function. Buffy's eventual nightmare of becoming a vampire is her worrying that she's never going to grow up and remain in adolescence forever. Her 3 close representations nightmares also mimicked some of the fear of being an adult. Fear of embarrassment, or stage fright, or failing in your duty can all be attributed to that. This is why it was important that Xander faced his fear first, and represents the courage that Buffy needed to push through.
Nice going.